Broadcasting Network.
This week on NHRA Today, Top Fuel veterans do battle in Bakersfield. Junior fuelers hold a racing revival. And a look at some nostalgic nitro newcomers. From Bakersfield Raceway, home of the California Hot Rod Reunion, these stories and more on this edition of NHRA Today. Hey, if you think your rod can beat mine, drag it out. That's how it all started. Not much more than backyard mechanics, those highly innovative racing pioneers struggled for years with wild ideas like aerodynamics and power transference. Now, while many of their first attempts failed, it was those early efforts that led to the creation of NHRA Drag Racing. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of NHRA Today. I'm Steve Evans. We all have those magic moments in our life that we'll never forget. One of those for me was April of 1959. I was living in Southern California, barely had enough gas money to get here to Bakersfield in my '50 Chevy. But I came for the first ever smokers meet. It was the largest gathering of fuel dragsters anyone had ever seen. The first time Big Daddy Don Garlitz came west. But on that day, Big Daddy took a back seat to the man that drove this car, the number 15 Hustler, Art Chrisman. Art not only dominated that first smokers meet, he went on to rule Top Fuel in the West Coast for about 3 or 4 years, hitting a best speed of 186 miles an hour in 8.20 seconds. Now today we bring you nostalgia Top Fuel drag racing side by side. The car is a little bit newer than this. In fact, here's my pal Dave McClellan with a perfect example.
Steve, this is today's modern Top Fuel dragster, the kind we see basically every week here on NHRA Today. But today's program is going to feature something entirely different. The nostalgia dragsters, basically run 20 to 25 years ago. These were the state-of-the-art in Top Fuel. This car, the Chastain and Hedge entry, built in 1968, reveals the biggest difference between then and now. The difference in wheelbase, roughly half the length of today's modern 300-inch car. But there's some technical differences as well. A 392 Hemi, a single fuel pump, that definitely limits performance. Over here, 500 cubic inches, 2 big fuel pumps, 2 magnetos, but the biggest difference of all, the giant wing on the back of today's car plants these huge slicks to the pavement. The nostalgia driver's got his hands full. No wing for aerodynamics and very small tires. A tough job getting traction. Now let's go to Steve with a couple of today's featured drivers.
Dave Bill Dunlap was driving these cars in the 60s. He's driving them in the 90s. And the problems are the same, especially that engine out front, hot oil, and maybe a little fire.
Well, yeah, but that's still a lot of fun, Steve. Like to see that flame, especially at night. Makes for a good ride.
Some safety improvements there, though, blowers and restraint straps and things.
Absolutely. NHRA has really come around with some good improvements to the car. It's much safer these days.
You almost tipped this thing over right in the lights yesterday. Little bitty tires, part of the problem.
Yeah, that could be some of the problem, but I think we got things ironed out now and the car's going straight, and I think we'll do good.
Good luck, and keep it right side up. That was scary yesterday.
All right, thanks, Steve. Certainly appreciate it.
And not all the drivers in these cars were around in the 60s. Some are pretty young. Well, Mike Boyd, you were only 8 years old when your dad was wowing them in the 60s.
That's right. Lions was my second home every Saturday night.
Not unusual for a son to follow a father, but not in this kind of car.
Nostalgia drag racing, it's the best.
Why?
Motor in front, flames at night. It's unbelievable.
That scares some people.
Yeah, I know. It's a little scary, but it's fun. It's worth it.
Well, the Top Fuel cars have headed for the lanes. I'm heading to the far end to interview the winners. I'm going to give you back to Dave McClellan.
Steve, this is really a trip to the past here at the fabled Famosa Drag Strip. That was its name back in the late 50s and early 60s, part of the Bakersfield Raceway Complex. Here is Mike Boyd, the young man you met a moment ago, the second-generation drag racer in these nostalgia Top Fuel cars. His competition is Jerry Steiner. Steiner became the #1 qualifier when Bill Alexander broke. Alexander ripped off a great 6:45. In the second spot was Steiner and a 7 flat. He moved to the top of the list. Steiner, of course, one of the great racers from years gone by. From Northern California, he drove in the late 50s and early 60s and drove Tom Proofer's Power King Special, one of the first cars ever over 220 miles an hour at Fremont Drag Strip. Mike Boyd in the far lane. Steiner having problems off the starting line, but Steiner's got the lead. Boyd pulls away when Steiner has to shut it off. Mike Boyd takes the victory, 773 at 193. Steve?
Well, Mike, you had to come from behind to pull off this first round victory. Good job.
Thank you very much. I was holding on to the brake because I knew the track's bad. I saw Jerry pulling ahead, and I let go and said, oh, well, he's going to smoke the tires or going to catch up to him. And he was out on me, and I guess he was in a good mood and decided to let me go by him. So.
Steve, the younger generation has taken his first round victory. Now the question is, can his dad, Jim Boyd, pick up the win in the Honeycutt and Boyd Red Turkey? His competition, as we see him here in the Thumper car, this is Ty Norton. You notice there's no big wings atop these cars, but some of the racers using the little wings right in front of the rear tires, probably to deflect the air just a little bit. Not a lot of downforce, and of course, it is a spec tire. It's only 12 inches wide. So that's one of the problems they have in getting traction here on this Bakersfield Raceway quarter mile. In the far lane, Boyd practicing the same skills that he utilized on facilities like Lions Drag Strip, Irwindale, Fontana. Ty Norton has got lots of problems, and Boyd loses an engine in the lights, but Boyd takes the victory. His time, 7:32 at 173.
Well, here you see the age-old problem with front-engine dragsters. Oil in the face, Jim.
Yes, sir. Kind of got kind of used to it after 30 years, but I hate it every time it happens.
And now guess what? You race your kid.
Yeah, that's what they tell me. Well, I think it might be my turn. The last 6 times we've raced, he's had 3, I've had 3. No, wait a minute, this is a toss-up. Well, whatever happens.
He's got lane choice. A factor at all?
I know the track's pretty good. The left lane's a little worse, but we'll make up for it somehow.
Everybody's skating around on the big end, though.
Yeah, it is, big time, yeah. Well, had to take a little power out, that's all.
Can you fix it?
I think we can.
Our blast from the past, the 8-car Top Fuel Show nostalgia style. We're still in round number 1, and Ted Taylor, the number 6 qualifier with a 771, is squaring off against Bill Dunlap, who had qualified second. Here comes Dunlap. His qualifying time, a 7:14. Taylor, a racer from Northern California in the late 50s and early 60s. In fact, he campaigned with the late Gary Ormsby, a former Winston Top Fuel champion in the late 60s and 70s. While Taylor's crew had to push him back by hand, you noted that Bill Dunlap's car is equipped with a reverser like the modern-day Top Fuel dragsters. He just sort of idles it back to the starting line to get ready for this round number 1 race against Ted Taylor. Dunlap's car in the far lane, you know, using those little wings out in front. Having his problems off the starting line, Taylor's got a big lead, but here comes Dunlap, and he wins it, a 7:18 to Taylor's losing 7:71. Steve?
When I used to watch Bill Dunlap drive, we didn't do television. So this is a whole lot of fun to be down here with a lot of old friends and a lot of old heroes. And the racing is great. That was a good one.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks. I felt like I was real late on the line.
You were?
Yeah. Got a lot of practice to go. It's been 19 years.
Only a few thousandths, though, the margin of victory.
Is that right? He won.
No, you won.
Oh, did we? Great.
That's how close it was, folks.
All right.
Low ET of the round at 7:18.
All right. We like that. Mike Fuller and Rich Guasco doing one heck of a job with the motor, and we're looking to put a little more power into it.
See you around, kid.
All right. Thanks, Steve.
You remember the name Rich Guasco. He was the tuner on the Pure Hell Fuel Altered in the earlier days of drag racing. Now working with Bill Dunlap on the Nostalgia Dragster. Here comes our final pair of round number 1. You're looking at the eyes of Sam Chastain at the wheel of the Chastain and Hedge car. His competition is Bob Halleck. He's the winner of the 1992 American Nostalgia Racing Association Top Fuel Championship Series. Chastain at the wheel of the former White Bear Dodge car from the late 60s got the break of a lifetime. He moved into the program when the number 1 qualifier, Bill Alexander, was unable to answer the call for the first round. So now it is Halleck here in the far lane up against Sam Chastain. Nitro burning steel block 392 cubic inch Chrysler engines powering these Top Fuel dragsters. Halleck's got a good run going. easily outdistancing Chastain. Elapsed time, low ET of the round, 6:81. Chastain trailing at a 7:19. Steve?
Well, Bob, that was a pretty good shot. Low ET of the round by a ton at 6:81.
Ooh, great, thanks. We knew we had it in there. We were just waiting for this.
What about 200 miles an hour today?
Yeah, 210. We're sitting for 210 right now.
Let me ask you, on the cowl it says barely married. What's that all about?
Well, a guy, John Charlton, and myself built our first car, and I spent so many hours at his shop.
Ooh, I know the feeling.
And it took us a couple months, and we didn't know a name, and my wife says, how about barely married, pal?
Ooh.
So we just kept it barely married.
All right.
On ringside.
Sam Chastain's string of luck continues. He comes back into competition here in the semifinal round by virtue of the NHRA brake rule. Jim Boyd was to have run his son Mike Boyd, but you remember in the first round, Jim had all those engine problems. He could not get it repaired. Chastain had the low elapsed time of the losing cars in the first round. Here he is back in the semifinals to face up against the young man Mike Boyd. Needless to say, Jim and his crew moved over here to kind of help out on Mike, trying to get him ready to face the challenge of Sam Chastain. Both cars into the staging beams. And Mike Boyd seems to bog it just a little bit off the starting line. Chastain's got a good run going. Look at that, 694 at over 194. Boyd trailing at a 732, 175.
From out of the 60s comes something called the brake rule, and because of it, you're going into the final round, Sam.
That's really good luck, and we really appreciate that. And
694, 194.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, good. We're on the right track. We're just tweaking it a little bit each time, and it's getting a little bit better each time.
Well, it says right on the car, just one more time. That's all he needs.
One more pair remains here in the semifinals. It is Bill Dunlap in the near lane. His competition, the car that has got the low elapsed time of eliminations thus far. You see his crew pushing him back. That is Bob Halleck. Halleck ran a great 681 in round number 1 to earn the right to race Bill Dunlap here in the semifinals. The winner to go to the final round of this Nostalgia Top Fuel show and there face Sam Chastain. Halleck, one of the most consistent runners on the NHRA circuit all season long, showing here the skill that got him that series championship. Starter Rick Stewart throws the switch, a green light, and Halleck breaks at the starting line. The quick car out of eliminations, and Dunlap almost loses it. He has to lift at about the 1,000-foot mark, coasts across the finish line with a 7:17.
Well, Bill, that one falls in the whatever works department.
Boy, I'll tell you, Steve, it was a little wild on this end again, but I think we didn't hurt the motor this time. I think we'll be in good shape for the next round.
Control problems, the whole deal, huh?
Kind of light on this end for some reason. The strip seems a little bit loose down here.
How much does this pay to win?
Have no idea, but I don't care. I'm here racing.
Boy, do you love the attitude of these guys. At 23 years of age, Stacy Paul wasn't around when these dragsters first burst onto the scene back in the 60s, but that doesn't mean she can't win in one. I don't know of any father-daughter driving team that compete in the same category in all of drag racing, except for Jim and Stacy Paul. Your dad's history, you're going to the final.
I'm excited. I can't wait. I hope that we can really hold this together and do well at the final.
You got Mike Brown to contend with, but you have won the last 2 races on the junior field circuit.
Yeah, reaction time and the car's just running great. I'm really proud of it, and the crew's just helping me out a bunch and keeping the car together.
Stacy defeated a couple of tough veterans to reach the all-important final round coming up in a few minutes. Congratulations to Stacy Paul.
The latest news from the world of drag racing.
The Gwynns have had a lot to celebrate lately. Daryl Gwynn was married to Lisa Hurst, a former Miss Miami in Hollywood, Florida. The wedding was held at the Sheridan Hills Baptist Church with many well-known racers present. The Gwynn operation also landed new sponsorship for the 1993 season. The California-based La Victoria Salsa Company signed on as a major sponsor and McGuire's Wax and Cleaners as an associate sponsor. The team also announced that former national event winner Mike Dunn takes over the driving tours. Dunn was optimistic about his new ride.
What I find with Daryl here is what we have is some stability to where Daryl's committed to this. He's going to do it full time, and he wants to win. And we have basically the same goals.
Let's switch categories. The very popular class called Junior Fuel. It is Mike Brown in the Alger Brown and Savelli car up against 23-year-old Stacy Paul. Now, these cars are powered by small block Chevrolets, 400 cubic inches maximum, fuel injected using a Power Glide transmission, and they run on methanol. Stacy finished in the number 3 spot in the NHRA circuit in 1992, while Mike Brown finished second. You talk about deja vu. If I were Yogi Berra, I'd say deja vu all over again. I used to announce Mike Brown when he raced Top Fuel Dragsters in the early 60s down in Texas. He dropped out of the sport in 1967, but has made quite a comeback here at the wheel of this Junior Fuel Dragster. And Stacy, along with her dad Jim, making their mark in the world of nostalgia drag racing. This is the Junior Fuel Finals here at the California Hot Rod Reunion in Bakersfield. Stacy in the near lane, giving up about a car length at the finish line to Mike Brown, who takes the victory 775 at 171.
Mike Brown came all the way from New Mexico, and aren't you glad?
I'm really happy, and we were thrilled to death when Frank invited us. The NHRA thing has been extremely good for us, and we worked at it pretty hard. And we're so happy to be here for NHRA and for the reunion and NHRA. And
That young lady was right there if you'd have made a mistake.
she was right there. I saw her most of the way down, and she went by me on the lights pretty hard, and so we were lucky to pull that one off. She'd beat me before.
Have a big time in Bakersfield tonight, huh?
Thanks a lot, Steve. Good to see you.
Won't find that kind of Mexican food they got in New Mexico, but it'd still be all right. All right, let's go back to Dave McClellan for the Top Fuel Final.
And Steve, the question there is, can Bill Dunlap offset the luck that Sam Chastain has had all day long? In fact, coming into this program, Chastain wasn't even qualified. And when the number 1 qualifier had to drop out, he made the show. Came back in on the brake rule, and here he is in the finals of the California Hot Rod Reunion up against the number 2 qualifier, Bill Dunlap. Dunlap with his reverser easing his way back to the starting line while the Chastain crew going through pure torment. That's what it was like back in the early days of drag racing. That motor spitting nitro fumes right into your face as you're trying to push it back. Fortunately, it's not too hot here today. I can remember this going on when the temperatures were nearing 100 degrees and crew members were falling like flies. Reversers changed all of that. This is for the championship of the Hot Rod Reunion. Dunlap again with problems. Here comes Chastain, but it is Dunlap at a 7:09, 155 to Chastain 7:16, and much faster 192.
$1,250, not bad.
Hey, that's fine. We're here racing. That's what's fun.
Let me tell you what, that baby was all over the racetrack. Discretion was the better part of you know what.
I had to lift. Unfortunately, it was a little loose on this end, but managed to get the job done.
He ran 40 miles an hour faster trying to catch you.
I know. He went by me like a streak. When we got down here, Steve, we had no idea who won.
That's twice today you haven't known.
That's right. Close racing. But that's it. It's fun racing, and it's been great.
We loved watching it. Thanks.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay.
Well, I tell you, Mac, this nostalgia Top Fuel Racing is alive and well after what we've seen today. Take us home, buddy.
Well, Steve, unfortunately, we're out of time. For Steve Evans, I'm Dave McClellan. Thanks for watching.
NHRA Today is a presentation of Diamond B Sports.